Hello and welcome to This is Nigeria, Unlocking Our Potential. Now, this is the program that showcases Nigeria's investment and development opportunities across the 36 states of Nigeria, with a special focus on the non-oil sectors of the economy. And today we're taking a retrospective look at the last decade. And we're also going to look into this new decade of 2020 to see what it portends for Nigeria. And I have some great panelists in the house. We had a robust discussion, very erudite minds. And I also have a little soundbite from the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum on what democracy intends to do in the year 2020 and this decade. My name is Mayo Aoluabi. Don't go away. Stay with us.
The 2010-2019 decade could be seen as sort of mixed fortunes for Nigeria. While some citizens will say the decade has been one of giant strides being made in numerous areas, others will say that so much more could have been achieved. For those who say it was a decade of success, the improvements in transportation and aviation could be ready materials with which they could buttress their point. The revival of the comatose Nigerian railway system is no mean feat, bearing in mind that for decades, the Nigerian railways had remained a sour topic, both in government circles and among the citizens. The years of failure of the railway system had impacted negatively on road transportation due to the haulage of goods by heavy-duty trucks carrying tons of goods which should go by rail on the roads, thereby leading to the easy wear and tear of the national road network. The revival of the rail sector in the last decade, therefore, should be a thing of joy to the government and the citizens. In like manner, the massive improvements in the aviation sector in the last decade cannot be ignored. Prior to the last decade, the Nigerian airspace had become notorious for aviation accidents, with airplanes falling out of the skies with careless abandon, leading to loss of lives and property. The effort of government and the private sector, leading to the concession of several airports and the improvement of facilities, which is still ongoing, has led to a drastic reduction in air mishaps within the Nigerian airspace in recent times. The improvements in agriculture, leading to more citizens getting involved in farming, has increased food production and greatly reduced unemployment. The communication sector has maintained its steady rise over the years, making Nigeria a global leader in telecom sector. The entertainment sector is one sector that witnessed an exponential improvement, with Nigerian music, films, art and fashion gaining global traction and placing the country firmly as an entertainment hub. For instance, the issue of power, where the nation has been lagging behind for decades, not much has improved despite billions of dollars in investments and constant changes in policy direction. Power generation is still oscillating between a paltry 4,000 and 7,000 megawatts. Distribution is still a major issue, with the sector bogged down with obsolete equipment and colonial laws. It is believed in most quarters that until the nation sorts out the problem in the power sector, the genuine drive towards a great nation will not begin. Other sectors that witnessed a downturn in fortunes or did not make much improvement in the last decade include education, where the number of out-of-school children has increased and become a global record at about 13.2 million at the last count. The illiteracy among the adult population has also increased, making Nigeria to boast a record number of illiterates amongst its citizens. This low literacy level equally impacted the economic fortunes of citizens, thereby making Nigeria the poverty capital of the world, as it has the largest number of people living in abject poverty according to the UNDP. Sectors such as health, sports, environment and many others witnessed little or no improvements. In terms of security, the last decade remains one of the most devastating for the nation. Outside the Nigerian Civil War, no other time in the nation's history has there been the massive loss of lives of citizens and security personnel as witnessed in the last decade. The Boko Haram insurgency, which surfaced in the late 2000s, mutated into full-scale insurgency in the last decade and then into a full-scale war. This has cost the nation much in economic and manpower terms, and stunted growth in many sectors as scarce resources had to be diverted from development projects to fight insurgency. While there were gains in containing the insurgents towards the close of the decade, the security situation suddenly deteriorated as new challenges such as herdsmen-farmers clashes, armed banditry, kidnapping for ransom, and criminality took over. While the government, through the security agencies, is doing its best, it is hoped that the dawning of this new decade will see the birthing of new ideas that will return our country to its traditional peace and tranquility. Governor Kaide Fayemi, the governor of Ekiti State, and the chairman Nigerian Governors Forum (NGF) also spoke in the same vein, stressing that the future looked bright for Nigeria.
When you look at our country, yes, 2 decades of democracy, a lot of progress has been made, and we've had an alternation of power from one party to another, the very first time in 20 years of democracy at the federal level. But then, democracy is a journey. It's not a destination. However, in that journey, we want to ensure that we're making progress, we're not reversing. There are many things that are giving Nigerians concern. Any democracy that does not deliver on economic prosperity and social inclusion runs the risk of being done away with, and we don't want that to happen to us. And that is why a priority issue is that this democracy must begin to deliver a lot more than it's doing to the ordinary Nigerian. And President Buhari is on course with that. The agricultural revolution, if you like, is increasing the per capita income of citizens who have chosen to go into agriculture. But that is still not enough to concentrate the creativity and the energy and the innovation of our younger ones.
No nation depends on one source of revenue if it wants to create a sustainable economic development and a future for its citizens. Countries have all grown and sustained their respective economies through non-oil exports, and Nigeria Export Promotion Council (NEPC) is strategically positioned to do more on 22 priority export products under the Zero Oil Plan, the One State, One Product initiative, and the Nigeria Diaspora Export Program, which are needed pillars of success in our economic recovery and growth plan. Invest in non-oil export business such as sorghum, cassava, yam, shea nut, ginger, and reap bountifully. Export business guarantees a prosperous future through inclusive wealth and job creation. Join hands to make Nigeria one of the top 20 largest economies in the world. Export business, tomorrow's business. For further inquiries, visit .nepc.gov.ng.
One of the key things that government must face in preparation for the new decade is to tackle infrastructure, ensure that Nigeria has infrastructure. With electricity, with very good roads, with good rail networks, the economy will boom.
Power 100%. We need power in Nigeria for anything to move, the economy to get better. Everything we do revolve around power. And if we don't get power right, I don't think we will get anything right.
The power that all the projects ongoing, it should be complete. And we are very happy that at least we are still continuing with our Baba Buhari.
For me, I think it's the start of a very wonderful decade, a decade of possibilities, a decade to consolidate on several things that the government have been promising. Even I like to see that the issue of security is dealt with once and for all in this decade, or rather in this 2020. I also like to see that the Nigerian people are given the sense of belonging no matter where it is that you come from.
Today we're looking at, in retrospect, how the last decade has been, because a lot of goalposts were set
over the years for the year 2020. And we were so expectant, it looked like it was such a distance away. But hey, we're here. Was it the housing for all by the year 2020? DNS, remember? Or healthcare for all by the year 2020?
It was everything for all by 2020.
All right, welcome to the program. Sam Cabo, the legal advisor. You're giving us insight into the agenda we're setting for the year 2020.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And seated to my left is Ernest Osogwe, a veteran broadcaster and a friend of the house. You're welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mara. Thanks for having me.
Ernest, can we look through your lens what the last decade has been for Nigeria? How would you summarize it? In a nutshell. I know it was a lot.
I think it had been brewing over time. What we're experiencing now, what we're hearing across the world, statistics we've been drawn up, we've been thrown up, telling us that Nigeria has the fastest growing youth population, and it's still growing, and we still have that record in the world. Then, if you are leaders and you have such statistics, what you begin to do is you begin to make plans for youth. But today in Nigeria, there's still a patriarchal, if I'm permitted to use that to encapsulate what I'm saying, where elders and adults are holding sway and where issues concerning them are more in the front burner rather than issues that concern the youths.
Who are the future?
Yeah, that is correct. And what we saw in the last decade is that these youths are beginning to get angry and they are reacting. That is what we are seeing manifesting in the various kinds of criminality, banditry, as well as the insurgency that is going on. And what is fueling it is that the youths are not busy. They're not properly engaged. And as a result of that, it's easy for some people who are charismatic to lure them and use them for negative issues, even against the nation. So I think our leaders, we've not had scientific leaders who think outside the box and move forward and prepare for things ahead of time. So I think the last decade, for me, if I look back now, I can say it was a decade of lost opportunity.
All right, let me put you on pause. Sam Cabo, how do you react to that?
Mine definitely.
You see the cup as half full rather than half empty.
Not just half full, more than a half full.
3/4 full.
Yeah, it was a decade that I would say, yes. Let me just name some of those aspects that I think we should not ignore. Because they did not come easy. Democracy is being stabilized. It's true. Democracy is being stabilized, and of course, we've done away with the history of coups. And the youth is talking about, if for anything, they've taken up the challenge, areas of innovations, things that they have brought up by themselves for themselves, music, entertainment in general. Today, Nigeria is in the mainstream of global entertainment. Now the music also is every aspect of it is competitive globally. We've seen that. We've also seen that emphasis are being made, and we're tending towards de-emphasizing the reliance on oil. Many other aspects of ourselves are now aggregating in some developmental paths. For example, communication, we are not lacking too far behind. At some point, we're even ahead of America. For example, text messages and all of this, and they came to Nigeria before America and all of that. So we are making some sort of inroads in those areas. And like I said, they did not come easier. We shouldn't take them for granted. So if you ask me, those are milestones that marked the last decade. Yeah.
All right. The expectations or the hype over the years had been that by the year 2020, there will be housing for all, healthcare for all by the year 2020. Well, what do you see in the year 2020?
Well, you have to understand that what we have in Nigeria is a population driven by ignorance and illiteracy. You know, when you have such a large chunk of the population wallowing in ignorance, illiteracy, and then compounded by poverty, you discover that they drive what happens in society. When you have 30 persons sitting, 2 professors and 28 persons who are not educated, there is nothing the professor is going to say that will convince 28 persons who agree in one direction to change their mind, because they are more in number, and so they shout you down. So educated people have been afraid to speak forward. The leaders, they have this way of creating slogans, and the people run with them without actually having substance. It is not about 2020. It was millennium. Have you forgotten?
Yeah,
it was the millennium. There was a slogan for the millennium. Then the slogan moved from the millennium when we got there to 2010. And from 2010, we now had 2020. And at the end of each of these points, I don't want to call them milestones, at the end of these dates, nothing concrete is actually on ground. Why? Because of we've not had visionary leadership. That is what I keep saying that. So for me, I don't want to be too critical, but when you look at what has happened already, the 2020 budget has already been passed.
Yeah.
Aha.
That's a good way to start.
And I hear, yeah, it's a good way to start, but you need to be more critical. We need to be more critical. When you hear of a 37 billion naira to renovate, then you panic, you know, because it worries me. Because you have to, what are the priorities of our leaders? When we have a youth population that is streaming around, dying in Lampedusa, dying in Libya, crossing the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, they want to get to Europe or places by force without visas and all of that. So you begin to ask, what are their priorities? They would rather want to give contracts. Renovation of the National Assembly should be an ongoing affair. And if you ask me, it should not be lumped off in one budget. Because what you mean is that if you lump it off in one budget, you are going to wait again another 5-6 years and you lump it off on another budget. Renovation should be on a yearly basis.
Sam, come.
Yes, please.
In the last 3 years,
Yeah.
how would you assess the direction of this administration?
I see them putting effort, serious efforts on infrastructure, which is good because infrastructure is actually the foundation of every other economic component of the state.
Okay.
If they are consistent with it and they can walk the talk on that, I think there is a better tomorrow for us in that direction. Agriculture, the efforts of agriculture are even beginning to yield fruits. And if you ask me, if the focus is consistent, the policies are perhaps rejigged once in a while to ensure that not just the farmers or the traditional farmers who have been in the farms, youths, graduates, and very many of us who now start looking at agriculture as a very decent and profitable way of life. So to me, that direction is good. The effort also being put on power is commendable. I would say that more effort should be put on it because it's also pivotal in every other endeavors that women want to put at ourselves for, either as individual or in aggregate. But coming back to issues of policy, you talked about the gap between policy slogans and the actualization of those policies. What I think has been the problem of government is their own conceptualization of this policy, believing that they can do it all. Government all over the world governments all over the world, they do not have the resources, either in terms of manpower or resources to carry out this thing. But they can partner, they can establish policies that will create a synergy between the private investors or the private sectors and the government.
This is Nigeria will continue. We'll be back after this short time out.
No nation depends on one source of revenue if it wants to create a sustainable economic development and a future for its citizens. Countries have all grown and sustained their respective economies through non-oil exports, and Nigeria Export Promotion Council (NEPC) is strategically positioned to do more on 22 priority export products under the Zero Oil Plan, the One State, One Product initiative, and the Nigeria Diaspora Export Program, which are needed pillars of success in our economic recovery and growth plan. Invest in non-oil export business such as sorghum, cassava, yam, shea nut, ginger, and reap bountifully. Export business guarantees a prosperous future through inclusive wealth and job creation. Join hands to make Nigeria one of the top 20 largest economies in the world. Export business, tomorrow's business. For further inquiries, visit nepc.gov.ng.
For you, what are the 3 critical sectors in this decade that's, if Nigeria gets right, we're good to go?
Getting a country running properly takes years of engineering and re-engineering. So it will take some time, but you keep tweaking it. And then gradually you begin to see the results, and then we get there. Education is very critical. We need, if you have an educated mass, it becomes very easy for policy to filter down, because it's easy for them to understand why that even if we are suffering today, we are drinking gari today, we are doing that in preparation for the salad we are going to eat the day after. So they understand that, and they can bear with you on that. There is a youth population that is not engaged, and I believe there are 2 critical sectors in Nigeria that can absorb them and to the benefit of our nation, and that is sports sector and in agriculture. If it is possible for government to invest more in sports, creating those facilities that can absorb the youths, give them that hope for tomorrow. Hope is one of the very important commodities in life, that once you have it, once it is there, if no matter how tough things are, but there's that little ray of hope, you keep holding on. Yeah, it keeps you going. So, and then of course, agriculture, like my colleague has mentioned earlier, very, very important. There is no limit to the number of persons who can be engaged in agriculture, the fallouts of it, and so on. So it is important that the government keeps pressing on. I think they are doing well in agriculture as of now, from the information we are getting. So it's, if these 3 areas are held on for this next decade, I believe that Nigeria will have cause to be smiling in the next few years.
Education is key for peace and security. Key to productivity, because the educated man on the average is more productive than the uneducated person. And all over the world, the FRC is now moving towards mental wealth as against extractive wealth. All the rich countries in the world today are not countries that are dependent on natural resources, but what? The natural brain, because that is the infinite reservoir of wealth. So education is key in that aspect. Manufacturing is also very essential. If you are not in manufacturing country, no matter what amount of money you generate, you're going to fritter it, because what? You will not be able to routinize it. It is that routinization of the money that you earn that gives it its value.
That's true.
You understand? So manufacturing is key. And in that light, the foundation for it is power. That should be emphasized. It is also good that we now have private individuals keying into it. Most of the production sector is now being done by the private individual. There is a gap between production and distribution, but that's a challenge. Why are we lacking in education? Why would we be having government from independence and up to today, instead of improving in education, the education system is receding? How would they be productive? So the quality or the surrender value from the schools is dropping by the day. And the reason is simple. Our personnel of government don't see that as essential for our own development. To them, politics or being in government is to reap that investment.
And take your share
Beautiful.
of the national cake.
Unfortunately.
3 key factors.
Yes.
Manufacturing.
Yes.
Power.
Education, power, and governance. Let's make government a serious business.
We need to, I don't know how we're going to re-engineer that, to get the quality kind of persons who think. Cerebral usage is very important in governance. It's not just to enter today and you begin to make policies left and right. You must think and create ideas that will manifest over time. And so I believe that if we can add that to what I said before, that we can have such leadership in this decade, then definitely there is light at the end of the tunnel for Nigeria.
All right. On a final note.
Yeah, we are getting there, but we all need to do more to help government so that government will help us. Let's be attentive to governance. Let us don't be too conniving. Moral ambivalence is actually what is egging on people in government to do what they are doing. And the overemphasis on the scrutiny on the president gives room to the personnel of the state to do what they are doing. Believe me, if we are sensitive and as critical and scrutinizing, the way we scrutinize the presidency, we do that for the states, would have better returns.
Thank you very much, Sam Kabe, for coming on to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
What I'm taking away from you is governance, good governance.
It's essential.
Education.
Very key. Manufacturing.
And Ernest, from you, I'm taking away
Education,
sports,
agriculture, and sports.
Agriculture and sports.
Yeah.
But this is the way to go by the year 2020 for Nigeria. We believe a lot is in the offing for us in this decade, because gradually we're coming to realization and the giant is waking up.
Well, it's a wrap on This is Nigeria. We've been talking Agenda 2020, what Nigerians expect. You heard the people on the street, what they say, what they expect to happen in this decade. And Governor Fayemi of Ekiti State and the current chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum has also promised Nigerians that truly we shall begin to see the dividends of democracy. My name is Mayo Oluwabi. Thank you for watching. God bless Nigeria.